What's happening, folks?
Hey, listen, I know it's super exciting. We getting into that time. We're almost headed toward, SWAC Media Day. When SWAC Media Day comes, that's when it really starts getting super exciting. So for you, just off top, man, what has you excited about the chase? You know what I'm saying? DA, right? Not THE, not THE, DA, right? What has you excited about the chase just so far as you look at what Coach Sam Shade is doing over there?
Well, man, first and foremost, man, it's a fresh beginning. That's just really the first thing I want to say. You know what I'm saying? We had, 7 seasons of Connell Maynor, and there were so many
Yeah.
things that he did do. There are things that he did do well, but it's just the tenure just ran out of gas towards the end. So with this new staff, with Coach Sam Shade, he brings in, obviously Alabama roots, uh, you know, not just coaching at Miles, not just, playing at the University of Alabama, but he's Alabama through and through. So he brings those Alabama roots, and you've seen that come out. Also, the staff that he's been able to assemble, guys that have a lot of experience, guys that have played in the NFL just like he did. You talk about guys like Marco Coleman, who played with the Dolphins for many years. He's a defensive line coach. You know, Also it's just like it's just kind of getting back to the basics. I know we'll talk a little bit about the team and everything, but some of the things that we just like to just say about getting back to the basics is, a lot of the roots of Alabama A&M football has been deeply rooted in strong defenses. A lot of the great defenses that they had when they were in Division Two, and then also some of the defenses that they've had when they've been successful on SWAC runs. What people may not realize, that A&M has been to the SWAC championship game many times. Now they've only been victorious just twice, but they've went many times. But what's been consistent is defense. And that's something that Sam Shade has talked about from the very beginning is that they want to get back to the roots of playing good defense. So those are some of the initial things, man. I know we'll chop it up, we'll get into it, but those are some of the initial things that I can get excited about.
Oh man, listen, if you can't get excited about the coaching, and I think when the job came open, and even when our job came open, to me, when I looked at both of the positions, there were two guys that to me stood out for both positions that just made so much sense. And I think even Coach Shade, even more so, is almost in that same tenor as what you look at South Carolina State was able to do with Chennis Berry. And not to say that right, everybody's gonna have that success that Berry had, right? But it just felt like it made so much sense when you literally are gonna be dealing with the same recruiting area, right? Dealing with the same high school coaches. You know what I'm saying? Like you just moving your desk down the hallway, basically, right? And so I know you're super excited about that. You kind of got into the coaching. We'll swing back around to that after just kind of maybe just getting a chance to recap last year, right? Because obviously, I think for most people, the thought process was like, hey, man, Maynard has to do something to take a step forward, you know what I mean, for him to have a shot to continue on, right? And I think that's kind of how that year entered for you guys. I think many people, maybe when they looked at our team, maybe some people felt that way and some people didn't feel that way with Bubba, right? But I think a large contingent also felt the same manner. So when you were now, season, you kind of going through the season and kind of saw maybe that it was kind of similar to what it's been the last couple of years for you. What what were you hoping that you were able to get in a coach, right? And obviously having a great AD helps, right? You know what I'm saying? I know that helps a
Mm-hmm.
lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what were you hoping to be able to get in a coach, and did your expectation get met in Sam Shade, or did they get exceeded? Was it under? Like, give us your thoughts.
So just kind of like last year. So last year, everybody knew that, that Maynard needed a win or else. I mean, a lot of people thought that he probably wasn't going to get even last year to coach. Coming off of a losing season, well, actually 2 losing seasons, coming in. And the thing that was really crazy about last year was it was a lot more of the same things that we've seen in the previous couple years that preceded it. Musical chairs at quarterback. Um, you saw guys like you saw Quad Brown get in there, you saw Avion Smith get in there, you saw Langford get in there. It was just a constant, steady rotation of guys, and it was just like something that was very exhausting from the aspect of our fans and also our alums. But also the other thing was last year was defense, as I talked about before, it was non-existent again. They were ninth in the SWAC in total defense. Now that's crazy to think that they were second in offense but ninth in defense. And it was, what was really amazing by that is that the games that like games like Jackson State, where they fell down big in the first half, but then lit it up in the second half. You know, uh, Same thing with the Alabama State game in the Classic. Fell down big at the half, but then lit it up in the second half. But when it came down to getting stops, when it came down to getting consistency, these are things that we did not see that really drove us crazy. We missed a lot of opportunities where we could have really taken some steps forward. So now, when you fast forward, you look at where we are now. I was really excited about the hire of Sam Shade because I like the fact that knowing where he came from at Miles, just the fact that he took over a program there that was downtrodden. They were a losing program, and he turned them around quickly and then even won a playoff game. So those were some of the things that I liked about that. But also with that too is what he brings in terms of his presence. Like, state of Alabama, we know it's either Alabama or you Roll Tide or you War Eagle. You know that. And so a lot of people they recognize him as a strong figure being on that national championship team back in 1992. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of those people, they instantly can relate to him and take to him. And just everything that he's been talking about, all his messages, it's kept it very simple, it's kept it very basic. You can see him. He's not the type of guy that gets too high, he's not the type of guy that gets too low. He is who he is. But he tells you straight up, these are our foundations. These are the roots. This is where it's going. So I look at it in this aspect here, Lionel. I look at it like this, man. What he inherits is just the same as almost every program in America. Transfer portal is now led to a 1-year principle. You have a team every single year that's different. So his aspect, what used to be a new coach will come in, you'd have to, put in your new systems, which you still have to do that. But when a new coach would come in, it would be, all right, we got to recruit, we got to get players that fit our system, fit our style. It's like now you can hit the portal, which they have done just like everybody else, to restock the cupboards and rebuild it and get things to be in the image of how you'd like it. So we'll see. We'll see.
No, I was on. I still think of the boot, right? You know what I'm saying? But my guys, right? No chill now. And I really made the same statement. It's like college football now. At the end of the day, if you're a coach and you can't learn how to put player pieces together new every year, you're just not going to be a college head coach for a long time, because that's just where we are now, right? So that's a skill set that got to be on your resume. It's almost like being able to use AI, right? Or, this is just skill sets that at the end of the day now, you got to be able to use them. And so for every college head coach, you got to understand there's going to be some give and take in this transfer portal. You got to learn how to use it to the best of your ability. And so it's so interesting, though, you talk about Coach Shea, because in a way, he reminds me of kind of Chris Dishman, to be honest, right? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? In
right,
the way that
right.
he's kind of very low key, very straightforward, very like matter of fact, and kind of just consistently looking to build what he's going to build. I think he had obviously. I like a lot of the pieces Alabama A&M has a lot. It's just the general pieces already there versus I think what we see at Texas Southern. But just the way they are kind of personality wise and things like that, I really see a lot, of similarities in both of these guys, man. And I think that bodes well, right? I think, we talk about somebody trying to build a program, right? Somebody can stay even keel is going to be really good. And obviously it depends on the guys you place around you, right? And that's where you
Mhm.
got other coaches that come in that's maybe a little bit more fiery, maybe a little bit more in your face, maybe a guy that's more analytical. And having those different pieces, helps a lot. And so you talk about the coaching staff. Can you just talk a little bit about the coaching? You kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, talking about some of the guys, for example, the D-line coach, right? NFL guy that's come back. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe some of the coaches that's brought in? Because one thing that I thought was amazing too of what A&M has done, similar to even like I say what we've done here at PV, is it looks like you guys have invested in your coaching, and this coaching staff looks a lot like a top tier FCS or even a FBS size coaching staff, right?
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
think that's big when you talk about establishing a program. Man, you got to not, again, we think about transfer portal even when we think about kids. We're not thinking about the fact that, man, you need to build your pipeline of coaches, right? Even yourself, the guys you're building up in your system, so that, hey, when your OC or DC pop off, right, and move, because if you're going to be a successful program, somebody's going to try to come get your successful assistant coaches, right? Well, that's why you need a good defensive analyst, a guy that you teaching along the way, so you can move them up, right? Maybe to an
Mhm.
assistant D line position, et cetera. You get what I'm saying, right? So talk a little bit about the coaching staff, man. Some of the guys that maybe we're unaware of that's joined Sam Shade and you think is going to have a major impact this year.
Yeah, so obviously, you got Coach Shade from Alabama. You also got Dennis Alexander. He's another guy who's had pro experience. He's the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach. Comes over with long relationship with Coach Shade. Also Chris Schelling,
Mhm.
another guy who's had relationships with Coach Shade for a long time. He's the defensive coordinator. Another guy that we really, really like, man, that we had on our show. We had Lawan Latson. He played in the NFL. He's the tight ends coach.
Mhm.
Again, another one of these guys who, been proven. Ronald McKinnon, linebackers coach. Again, another NFL guy, been through the ranks, been around. You've got guys like you're talking about Antonio Carter. Now, this guy, Antonio Carter, when we had him on our show, he's a wide receiver coach. He played at Alabama. This guy, all the high energy that Coach Shade might not have, this guy does have. Like
Right.
this dude is so high strung. And what is so cool about that is that for a wide receiver coach with a wide
Mhm.
receiver group, high energy is what that crew will bring for you.
Yeah.
So he's that's something that's really, really awesome. And then Jamal Fobbs, a running back coach. Another guy who's been around. He's been around. A lot of these guys been at multiple schools. Some of them been in the FBS, some of them been FCS, some of them been at other HBCUs. You know what I'm saying? So you got really, really good dudes, man. And then, we have a chief of staff now, which is just really, really crazy. And then also former quarterback coach Jason Mai. He's the director of operations. And so him with his experience coming from the former staff, being under Coach Maynard for so long, he's that local presence that's been familiar with everything for a number of years. So, you've got a lot of really, really good guys with a lot of experience. And you got guys who are just hungry, man. They just really want to just see this thing be rebuilt and be built in a very, very great way. And everything that these guys have said when we had them on From the Hill podcast, they talked about how much of a gem the city of Huntsville is, and also how the campus is at Alabama A&M, like the facilities and just how much the administration really wants to get behind the team and wants to build it. And they share in those same values. They've gotten in immediately and got to work. And, hopefully we'll see things turn and see it, see it work quickly. But I just love the energy and I love the passion that comes from these coaches, man. But these guys, they've been together for, guys have been on the staff at Miles, guys have been with them for a while, and they just know how it works, man. And
Yeah, that's what I was going to
it's
ask. How
consistency.
many guys on the staff are coming over from Miles with him? And also, how many of these guys have kind of some experience in Alabama as well? You talked about Antonio Carter, for example, right? Because obviously, I think that's big when you talk about recruiting your area, right, and locking it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Chris Schelling is an Alabama guy. Like I said, the defensive coordinator. We talk about Antonio Carter, another Alabama guy. All told, man, it's like 6 guys that came over from the Miles staff. So you've got that continuity that's valuable, man, because you're talking about the way you run meetings, the way you run your schedules. You got all of that. And as I said before, when you couple that with now you have a chief of staff in LaRon, and then you also have the director of operations with Jason Mai. Jason Mai is a local guy. He's been there. You bring all these pieces together, it looks really, really good, man. It looks really, really good. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely huge. Obviously, having the chief of staff position there too as well. But talking about that consistency, when you talk about bringing players in through the transfer portal, it's big to have coaches that understand how the process is supposed to work, right? So not
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you got to bring players to get them on board, but when you have coaches that have been on board, right, and understand what it's supposed to look like, man, that helps. You talk about it tremendously, right? So, obviously, when you had Coach Shade come in, really having that, interview first when he come in and introduce to Chase, to hit the ground running. Obviously, you got to come in. You got a couple guys that's going to come out and come in. Just overall, what have you felt? How do you feel that they've done in the transfer portal and also in the high school recruiting? Do you feel like they've addressed the needs that you guys has had and the holes that you guys have to plug coming to the next season?
Well, man, and the proof is always going to be in the pudding once we get into we start the season. But on an initial view, just the amount of players that they brought in, they brought in, obviously they brought in more people through the portal than they have through the high school recruiting. But it has been said from the coaching staff that they do have value in high school recruiting. Whereas, there's a lot of coaches now, they straight up tell you, no, we looking for guys that can play right now. So they said they want to have that happy medium between let's have guys who are experienced, but let's also have some guys that we can develop. And so what I've seen through the portal, we've seen a lot of guys come in, we've seen guys at all positions because what they're looking to do, they're looking to generate a lot of competition at different positions. And, a lot of these key battles, we'll definitely talk about. But some of the players they brought in, they're gonna equal this a few key position battles that'll lead to some serious intrigue as we get into camp.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously, you talk about some of the guys now transitioning kind of into, the transfers kind of when you talk about that, right? Because you had a couple guys that have not just some guys who've done some things, right? Because when you talk about obviously, that guy over at the Baltimore Ravens, which my aunt is very happy about that because she's a Baltimore Ravens fan, by the way. So
Yeah.
so she's loving that, right? And getting those trenches together. But losing a guy like Carson Vincent, obviously, is huge, tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Over 800 snaps last year, right? Talk about kind of the guy that he was, right, for that offensive line. But you also had another guy on the other end of the offensive line at the tackle, right? what is it, Christian that also just transferred out. I think he went to,
Yep.
was it Western Michigan, I believe.
Yeah.
He's went to, well, first of all, Western Michigan owe y'all some money, because it's like I've seen a couple Western Michigans on the list. It's like, listen, y'all need to. I feel like that with K-State. It's like, listen, y'all need to pay us, okay? Because y'all just can't be
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
and we ain't getting nothing back, right? But that's big, right? So you got two bookends, two tackle positions, right, that was secured last year by Vincent, by Christian, right? You got to be able to fit that and plug that in there. And you talk about obviously bringing in some new blood at the quarterback position to seek to protect him, right? Blind side, front
Hmm.
side. Do you feel like you have the guys in tow already, right, to be able to plug in those two tackle positions, man? And to replace. I mean, obviously, replacing a guy who got drafted to the NFL that's hard no matter what program you at, right? You know what I'm saying? But, you don't necessarily need him to be at that level, right? You need him to be quality, right? Need him to do his job, right? Do you feel like you
Yeah.
guys have that to be able to replace those two tackles?
Yeah, and that's one of the chief concerns that I have is just, the offensive line and the losses that we had there. The one guy that we have that's back that had significant experience is Terrell Lawrence. Terrell Lawrence
Mhm.
he started 11 games last year.
Yeah.
And he's one of the few guys that we have that actually is back that actually has experience. Now, yeah, they did go to the portal and they did get some offensive line help, but it just remains to be seen on how it comes together. That's one of the chief concerns that I have had on our offense, is that offensive line, because the offensive line that we had last year, that was one of the best offensive lines that we had with Coach Maynard. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously we had Vincent, but we had guys that were up there that were pretty stout,
Yeah.
and they were blocking for guys like Donovan Eaglin who
Yeah.
moved on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was another significant
Almost a
loss.
1,000-yard rusher there too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're talking about a first team all SWAC running back. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So that's a concern. But also some of the transfers while we're talking about it. Let's just say it like what it is.
Hmm.
Makai Hagan's coming from UAPB. Makai Hagan's had a pretty solid year last year in the beginnings and in the middle. Now it kind of tailed off towards the end
Yeah. Yeah.
because that offensive line, they got beaten up, they had injuries, they couldn't protect them. But he comes in, he's got starting experience. Now there's still Quad Brown who's there. He was one of
Hmm.
the quarterbacks who played last year. One of the four that we had play last year.
Right.
But Quad Brown ended the season as the starting quarterback. And so with
Right.
Hagan's coming in, that's going to generate a lot of competition between those two guys.
Hmm.
It can only be really, really healthy for us. Now, some of the things that Hagan's had, you remember he had Giovanni Gibson, who's
Yes.
now at Oklahoma. That helps when you had a stud at wide
Hey,
receiver.
yeah, that did help a lot. Now, interesting, right? When you look at UAPB numbers last year, Giovanni Gibson caught 40% of all pass completions that they had and got one third of all, literally a third of all, not even like we just rounding up, like he literally got a third of all targets to receivers
Yes.
last year.
Yes.
I think that's something that, because that's one of the things I want to ask regarding the QB battle, room is, do you think with this new staff that this is going to be a true battle? Is Hagan's coming in as already having maybe being a notch higher because of what he's done previous? Like, what is that situation? Because I was surprised to see that Makai Hagan's completion percentage was not as high as I thought it actually was initially when I'm
Correct.
looking at it. Right? And then the
Correct.
fact that you have one guy that's kind of the main guy and it looks as if you really was zoned in on him, it kind of made me kind of say, you know what, let me step back a little bit on. I think he still has some great skill sets, right? You know what I'm saying? But when you got guys in the room, right, that can do a lot of things, you really need to also know how to spread around a little bit more, right? You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
good defenses are going to learn how to take away, you know what I'm saying, your best option, right? You know what I'm saying? So what's your thoughts just about just that battle in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing, I'll start with Quad Brown first. So Quad Brown, he's been with the program. This will be his third year with the program. Now, he played in the season opener 2 years ago, and
Mm,
then he had a season-ending injury, and then he returned, and then he started the year as a starter. But musical chairs. When he was good, he was good. He had a few good games. He threw
yeah.
5 touchdowns against Valley last year.
Yeah.
He had some good games. But then when he wasn't right, it came with the interceptions. It came with some of the ill-advised throws. Things like that. The same thing could be said about Mekhi Hagans at time to time.
Yes.
There's times where he made some ill-advised throws. He tried to force the ball. There are times where when he should have stayed in the pocket, he looked to try to run a lot. But I think what can help Hagans is that he will have more to work with
Hmm.
at A&M than he did at UAPB.
Hmm.
But the battle is going to be so fierce because Quad Brown is like, hey, I've been the guy here.
Right.
I ended the season as a starter. I came back with the expectation that I'm gonna be the starter.
Of course.
So
Right.
I think that competition between the two of them can only help the team. It can be a
Yeah.
great asset. So we'll see how that flows,
So
man.
you wouldn't be shocked though if Quad Brown comes out and he is the game one starter. You wouldn't be shocked by that at
No,
all.
I wouldn't be shocked at all
Okay.
because I mean, the arm talent it's undeniable. Like
Right.
he can throw that ball. He can make all the throws. It's just where it comes with him is just the decisions, man.
Decision making. Yeah.
Decision making.
And that could be coaching, right? At the end of the day, sometimes, man, if you get somebody can teach it different to help you see it different, it can change the whole trajectory, right? You know what I mean? So, that literally can go from 12-7. And like I say, right, when I look at the numbers, he threw for 2,500 yards, right? Hagens did, but 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's not a huge difference from 12-7 with Quad
Right.
Brown, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, who also didn't get to play a full year, right? And kind of maybe getting maybe a rhythm, you know what I'm saying, of kind of making the mistakes and then learning from those mistakes and having a chance to smooth everything out, right? So, I definitely, when I'm looking at the numbers, it made me feel like, you know what, this is definitely probably more of a battle than a lot of people are thinking it is outside of, say outside of Birmingham, right? You know what I'm saying? Y'all who in the
Mhm.
room are probably understanding a lot more that is definitely a battle, man. But talking about a couple of other guys that came through, obviously Keenan Hambrick, huge last year, all
Yeah.
SWAC receiver.
Yeah.
DJ Nelson, I didn't see, looked like he moved on too. I didn't see
He
him
did.
on the
Yeah,
okay on the
he moved
roster, right?
on.
At tight
Mhm.
end. Also, the Quandre Welch looked like he may have had some maybe issues book wise. I know he went down D2 to Holmes Community College.
Yep.
Then even X, we got to talk about Xavier Langford just because of what he was able to do coming in at different times, giving y'all a spark. And then you talk about a guy, for example, like Cortez Andrews, right? You know what I'm saying? Who was hoping to
Yeah,
get his
that's
shot
another big
on
loss, man.
on the next
Another big
level, right?
loss.
Definitely,
Yeah.
a couple of big losses, man. But when you talk about guys who are returning, you already mentioned about Tyrell Lawrence, over 800 snaps at right guard. It looks like in the interior is where you guys can kind of put your hat at, hopefully having some strength there to maybe then figure out the pieces on the outside, because you also got Ramier Lewis coming back last year, over 350 snaps for him at left guard, right? And
Yep.
so it looks
Yep.
like your guard positions are going to be solidified. It's just really, really figuring out those
Yeah,
tackle
on the
positions.
tackles. Mhm.
Yeah, we talked about quad. Talk a little bit about what you're going to get from your tight end room. Donovan Price and Donovan Payne, right? Now only 9 catches, but 4 touchdowns on 9 catches is crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you add Barry White in, who had 10
Yeah, I
catches
was
with
about to
two
say that's my
touchdowns,
man. That's my
like
man,
the receiver
42 Barry
room did a
White.
lot of damage, you know what I'm saying, in the end zone. So talk about those two guys. Can they take over the production that maybe DJ Nelson is leaving behind?
Yeah, so yeah, Barry White was he's a sneaky guy, man. It's like when you would watch our games, man, you would just look and you say, how in the world is this dude wide open? Like somehow they would scheme him up where he would be wide open. So he comes with a lot of experience. This will be his third year with the program. He's also doing well, in the run blocking game. So he does really well like that. But another name to add to the tight end room,
Okay.
somebody that's a very familiar name, Tajarian Williams, who used to be the
Mm,
quarterback at Valley, is
yes.
now a tight end on A&M's roster.
Oh, drop the
Yes, he
news.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, he is
That's
now. He is
crazy. Hold
now
up.
at tight end. Yeah, that's a
Wow.
big dude.
See. Yeah, 6'3", 230 junior coming from Mississippi. Wow. So he came to play tight end. I want to know what Sam Shade conversation there was there to say, hey
Yeah,
man, come here, play tight end. You're gonna have a shot at the next league. Like what I wonder what that conversation was to him to say, come play tight end. That's interesting.
yeah. Because I thought that he would be back
Mm,
in Valley, to have a chance to try to start for Terrell Buckley, but he's on our roster as a tight end. And, I always knew he could run the ball. He was never really much of a passer. So,
yes.
his abilities as a runner,
Tight
we'll
end.
see how it goes as a
Ooh,
tight end
that's
now. But yeah,
listen. That's a hey man. Because all I know is last year, man. I don't know what this offense is gonna look like this year, ain't it right? But I know Maynard last year, man. Them tight ends. The production wasn't necessarily large as far as catching yards, but bruh, end zone touchdowns. I mean,
yeah,
the tight end room,
touchdowns and getting in the red zone, those
the
guys
tight
were
ends,
available.
that's like 8 touchdowns out
Yep,
from the tight end room, right? You know what I'm saying? So
yep,
that's crazy, man. Talk about Tajarian Williams there. That's a really interesting note right there. To just think about and piggyback on, man. So yeah, that I missed that one when I was looking on the list. And first of all, shouts out to A&M and shouts out to y'all SID because bro, y'all listen, I see True Seeker here. Listen, I ain't have to dig as much as I had to dig with Texas Southern, right? Like, because they literally provide so much information on the 2025 roster. Like, I mean, they got interviews with the coaches from spring
yep,
practices. I mean, even all the guys that got signed, they got blurbs for all the guys that got signed from different. I would have to go to the different spot. I'm gonna let y'all know a little bit more. I do be doing some homework, right? I go to every play. I go look at their previous 2 stops, right? I go look at their numbers. If they are
yep,
FCS or FBS, I go look at their Pro Football Focus. I'm trying to get y'all some stuff, right? But listen, Alabama A&M helped me out because they did a lot of legwork for me. So shouts out to y'all over there because y'all are on point. Like I need y'all to have some conversations with my PV people, okay? So we can get on this level. But seriously, because this is dope. But keeping it going, man. Another guy that you guys got returning, obviously Duke Miller, I think goes without saying. You know what I'm
yep,
saying? I think he's looking, and I think he wants to know that, hey, I'm stepping into that role that Hambrick had, right, to be the number one guy. But you also got Donovan Wright coming back, right? 12
yep,
receptions, 216 yards, and 2 touchdowns
yep,
last year. But also a guy who was big in the return game. Didn't get in the end zone last year, but a lot of return yards. Talk a little bit about those 2 guys, and maybe somebody else in the wide receiver room that you think is going to have a
yeah,
chance to pop off. The one thing I did see that I feel like maybe Coach Sam Shade still might bring in this summer time is you don't have a big receiver like Hambrick. I didn't see on the roster right now, that 6'4" guy. So
yeah.
I think he might still be looking for something. I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody come in that's in that 6'3", 6'4", true 6'3", 6'4" range. But talk about the wide receiver room too as well, and those guys you got coming in and returning.
Yeah, so Duke Miller, obviously he transferred in last year from Jackson State, and he was hurt pretty much all year. He came back and he played the final game of the season against FAMU, and he was expected to have a really big role last year. So he came back, and so we'll see how it translates to the field, with him being healthy. He had very good connection with Quad Brown, so we'll see how that worked. Donovan Wright,
Mhm,
he was a very valuable receiver last year. Very
mhm,
possession receiver, made a lot of the tough catches over the
mhm,
middle. So he's very tough receiver, and he's a senior, so he brings a lot of experience. Another guy, number 5, Miles Parker. That's another guy who had
Okay.
significant minutes and time on the field with us last year at receiver. So, you had these three guys, Miller, even though he was hurt last year, he's had the experience from his prior
Yes.
stops.
Yes.
And then Wright and then Parker. But yeah, you're talking about a receiving core that is being rebuilt. It's
Yeah.
being rebuilt. I mean, because you've had your guys over the last few years, that were, Hambrick was getting a lot of catches. He was making a lot of the deep balls, those things. So it's something that has to be rebuilt. You got to get a lot of depth there. As I'd like to say, we're top heavy in that position.
Mm.
But there's still a lot of room to grow, and it's something that can be really, really exciting with that. So that wide receiver group, we'll see how it goes. We'll see
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah, I think
See how
also
it
another
goes.
guy that Coach Shade brought over with him, also from Miles, Frank Pierre. You saw him in the spring game make a big play
Yep.
too as well. He had 27 receptions, 373 yards, and 3 touchdowns last year with Miles. And also, it's always nice to bring in a guy who has won a championship, right? It's like it's
Yep.
nothing like having guys who won championships. And you got added 9 guys who won championship because he brought 9 guys from Miles over, right?
Yep.
So
That's
and
right.
a lot of guys on the defensive side from Miles came over, right? So I think that's very interesting to see them come plug some holes because you did lose also Marvin Smith, right, in that DB room. He's a
Yep.
sophomore, right? Delvin Gully, right? Sophomore as well, cornerback,
Yep.
went to UAB. He had a 70.5% coverage grade last year, 29 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 4 pass breakups. So that hurts. And he's a young guy, right? So he got a couple years left, right? So you have
Yeah.
to fill those pieces. I think coach is looking at, hey, first year, let me get guys I trust, right? Bring the guys over from Miles that I know can play. And these guys can play, right? They played at Alabama States, right? Multiple years. They've had a chance to go to the D2 playoffs where the competition is basically comparable, right? With FCS programs, right? So I know that these guys can come and play on this level, right? And I can literally plug and play while I'm building while I'm building maybe through the high school ranks, for example, to get other guys for the future. And so it's going to be interesting to see some of those guys come over from Miles and kind of what they're able to do when you talk about being able to plug those holes from a defensive back standpoint. But also, you had a couple other transfers in. I know you brought in the big offensive lineman from Tennessee State as well, right, along with Mekhi Hagens, right? You also got a DB that came in from Campbell. He's a
Yep.
young guy, right, but maybe somebody, Kenneth Kelly, right, who can be able
Yep.
to come in and, again, add some depth to that position, right? Because I think definitely in the defensive back room, you need a lot more depth than a lot maybe of the other rooms you're looking for. But talk a little bit about maybe any of the other transfers that you got coming in that you think are going to have a major impact this year with the program.
Well, they've also got a transfer. He didn't really see the field last year because he had some injuries. We got a big offensive lineman, Richardson from Minnesota.
Okay.
So he's a guy that you can put on the outside. So he's definitely somebody we're looking at. All the aforementioned guys you talked about, man, the Miles transfers, defense is, let's just make no mistake about it, man.
Yes.
Defense is where we had the most attrition. We had the
Right.
we had the
Right.
most losses. We lost. I mean, Amari Pate's not there anymore. He was
Mhm.
preseason all swag. He's not there anymore. So you're talking about a lot of guys that had to be replaced at all levels of the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, rushing the passer, that was one of the things that we had issues with last year. Also, playing in coverage was something we had struggles with. So a lot of the guys that have been brought in, uh, it we'll just see how it translates with all of the visions that these guys have in the coaching staff. Somebody else
Yeah.
that came back on defense that had significant playing experience last year, Jamarion Ellis, the defensive lineman. He's one of the
Okay.
guys that did have a lot of impact last year.
Yeah.
So when we talk about losing Andrews, Jamarion Ellis, he's a guy that we can, you can count on because he's been there. He's
Right.
made all of the key plays, in the run game with tackles and different things like that. And then also looking at Stevie Parker, defensive back. He's one of the defensive backs that we did get back from last year. But other than that, this is a completely
Yeah.
rebuilt defense. I
Yeah.
mean, it's almost from scratch.
Hey, listen, and as I tell people, some of the best food is made.
From scratch.
Come on now, listen. So I ain't got no problem with the rebuild defenses. All right, because I'm loving my rebuild secondary over here. All right, so I ain't got no issues, no qualms whatsoever. Right, and when you got defensive guys, right, talking about Shade, talking about Jackson, right, they understand. Hey, listen, the quickest way we can get up and get competitive is by not allowing people to score the ball, right? You know what I mean? We
Yep.
can stay in games if that's our focus. Again, I keep talking about Chris Dishman right over there at Texas Southern, right? I think he understands the same thing, and so it's almost like right now I feel like with these coaches, it's like it's a race to the top of the defensive ladder in the SWAC, right?
Yep.
Who can get to the highest rank of the ladder on the defensive side? That team, East West, right, is going to have a high probability of being in games and also getting a chance. Because listen, if you are in games, you got a shot, right? Because then it's
Yep.
like, man, who cannot make a mistake, right? Who can just make a play? If you can just stay in games, right? And so that's half the battle, just being there. And so I think that's what Shade is doing. I feel like that's what Dishman is doing, and I think that's definitely what Tremaine Jackson is doing. And so all these defenses, I feel like, are definitely going to be elevated. And it sounds crazy, right? Because you got D2 guy, but I keep saying, listen, a D2 guy who got experience and can play is
Mm-hmm.
better than just grabbing the FBS guy that you don't know. He just got potential. Because hey, I know what he can do in man coverage. I know what he can do in zone. I know that he can run this concept. I've seen it, right? He got a lot. He
Yeah.
got 500, 600 snaps of doing it, right? So
Yeah.
that's a lot better than bringing a whole bunch of guys down that you don't know can do it. And I think that's why guys like Sam Shade are going to have success, is because they're not afraid to lose the transfer portal rankings. You get what I'm saying? As far as the
Yep.
hype of it, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we didn't bring in that many FBS guys. Oh, they got a lot of D2 guys, or maybe JUCO, or maybe some SES transfers. But I know I'm getting guys who have played and can play, right? You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
And so
That's right.
I think that's a huge thing that's gonna make these guys successful, is because they understand, right, that quality that's in those different ranks there, that maybe some coaches are still got to get over that hump of realizing, like, man, no, there's real talent, you know what I mean, down in those D2, D3, NAIA even levels, you know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah,
So
you get these type of guys that come in that are hungry, man, and everything with scheme and fit, man, and that's the thing that I like about just with the coaching staff and just the things that they've spoken about, man. It's just the scheme and the fit. They're just looking for guys who fit. I mean, these are guys who may not ever want to have a name in the page. They may not get their
yeah,
name on the front page, but these are guys who will make contributions. So we'll see, man. I mean, there's a good
yeah.
mix. There's a good mix of guys that have returned. Something that we didn't talk about. Our returners at running back. Now, yeah,
That's
we
my
lost
next
Don.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, we lost Donovan Eaglin, but
Mhm.
when we do get back, we get Ryan Morrow, who
Yep.
third year in the program, and Cody
Mhm.
Nero, second year in the program. Ryan
Mhm.
Morrow has had some 100-yard games. He's had some carries. He's had a lot of experience there. So these are things that we really, really can build upon, are the guys that we have coming back, because some of the ones that we did have come back, we had some starters.
Yeah.
And that's something that you
Build
can
on.
definitely work with. Yeah,
And then,
definitely work with.
Isaiah also had a fair amount of carries last year too, right?
Yeah,
I
he
believe,
did.
right?
He
So you really
did.
got
He
you
did.
got you got two guys that definitely saw some good quality time right behind Donovan Eaglin, right? So that's good when you got guys coming in that kind of have carried the rock for. I see a question by Truth Seeker here. He says, "What's something about the A&M football program or culture um, that you're hoping Coach Shade can address?"
Yeah, yeah. So something about the program. I'm gonna just say with the elephant here in the room, man. Uh And what's good to everybody out there? I see a few, Doc and all them. Let's address the elephant in the room, man. 3 straight losses to your rival, Alabama State. 4 straight losses to Jackson State and FAMU. Haven't beaten FAMU since they've been in the SWAC.
Mm.
Gotten close against FAMU, a couple times, but have not been able to win these games. See, what it is about in this culture is it's about shifting this thing to getting the expectations that we can win and that we
Yeah.
will win.
Yeah.
It's just it got to the point where, and many of folks, they've seen my previews, they've seen my shows all last year. I kept saying the same thing over and over again. I'm definitely not one of those guys that's delusional and say that our team's gonna go 10-2 when I know we don't have 6-6 talent. I knew that we weren't on the talent level of Alabama State in terms of defense. I knew that we weren't on the level of Jackson State in terms of pretty much, most of the things in key positions, depth. FAMU, they just out toughed us. Usually
Mm.
they out tough us when we play them. These are things in the culture, man. It's got to be a complete shift that says that, hey, we expect to be able to not just compete in these games, but to
Right.
be able to win some of these games. And that's one of the things that he can definitely address, man. And with that, you'll see people begin to support the team a lot more because the exhaustion was there at the end of the Maynard tenure. It was
Mm.
there. Everybody was tired of the same thing. It was like, we seen this movie before. We know how it ends. We know
Mhm.
that, okay, if a guy throws an interception or he fumbles, we know he's coming out of the game at quarterback. It was just like a broken record. So it's like, hey, can we get a quarterback that is your guy and
Yeah.
stick with your guy?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Can you do the things that just makes it look like we are moving steps forward to being a winning program? And
Mhm.
right now, it's like, you beat your Valleys, you beat your UAPBs, but those are the teams that you were expected to beat.
Right.
But now, can you move forward and start winning the games that you have not been winning? When you
Mm.
do that, you can truly shift the culture quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. Expectations are a huge thing, right? Obviously on this show, we've talked about expectations so many times because when we talk about, us over here at PB Nation, we talk about you, and I always say this, right? I've read this in a book a long time ago and it just stuck with me, right? You know what I'm saying? Listen, you never hits a target you don't shoot for. That's not how life works. Okay. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
Like
right.
you're not gonna aim if you aim at 100, you're not hitting a million. That's not gonna happen, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like you gotta be aiming for whatever that target is you're trying to hit. And so you gotta have your expectations in order. You gotta have them right. Do you feel that the talent that Coach Shade has in the room now uh has elevated to where you will put it on a par with say Alabama State, right? That is moving toward what Jackson State or FAMU has in the room. What's your thoughts on the talent just overall right now? Because one thing I will say, right, that in looking at, in my opinion, right, looking at kind of the transfer program, looking at who different schools go after and things like that, what I feel like I'm realizing more and more now is I really believe it's like 75, 80% coaching. That's my
Yeah.
personal opinion right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
some of these schools go after some of the same guys, and some guys you even look like, man, I'm happy that guy ain't on our team right now, right? But it's like, man, but what those coaches see in this guy that you still got G5 programs or even other FCS programs that's in high tier conferences still going after these guys. So it must be something that they see like, hey, man, if I can tweak this in him, I can make him the player we need him to be. So I feel so much more the more I'm seeing like kind of how teams are moving and how certain coaches are moving in the portal is like it's definitely more coaching than it is anything else. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think where we are right now with the guys that we have, I think that like I said before, we have a good mix of returners with a lot of guys that have come in. Now, it remains to be seen how that will translate when we get into fall camp here. Now, something that I do have our schedule that I pulled up here.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
And
definitely. I was gonna go to the season outlook next, so you can go
yes,
ahead and talk about it. We
yes,
can pull it up too. Go ahead.
yes, you can pull that up, man, and we can
Let me
just
see
talk
if I can
about
get
it.
that up.
Yeah, yeah, we could talk about that for sure. Just get right to it because you know what I mean. I can definitely talk about how it will make a difference. With the the schedule that we have. But
Yeah, you can go
like,
ahead and go through it. Let me get.
but
It's gonna
yeah,
take me a second probably to give it up, but go
yeah.
ahead and I'll pull it up as soon as I get it up.
So one of the things, so we start off, we start off with Arkansas. Now, yeah, it's a payment game and all that, and we asked the coaching staff like, well, how do they feel about going down there to to play Arkansas, and they said, well, hey, we look at it as an opportunity to go into a big environment and get
Hmm.
our guys acclimated to a big environment right off the gate. He said we don't see it as a guarantee game. We don't see it as, a game that, we're just trying to come out and just hang on and be healthy. He said, we just looking to just go out there and compete. And that's something that I think will serve us well. And then the second game we play Alcorn. Now we haven't played Alcorn since obviously, they moved out of our division. And we're gonna play them in a non-conference matchup. Now,
Right.
some people ask, they said, "Well, why are they playing them non-conference?" Well, this is a makeup game back from COVID.
Mhm.
Alcorn owed us a game from COVID, and so they're repaying that game now. 4 years later. So we're gonna play them Lewis Cruz Classic. Alcorn is a little bit trying to find its way also. They had some expectations last year, and they sputtered to a 6-6 finish.
Right.
And it wasn't up to the standard that a lot of their folks are used to. So that'll be a really good game for us to play, first home game to really challenge ourselves, against it's still, I mean, even though it's not in the standings, it's still a SWAC opponent, and
Yeah,
it
for
gives you
sure.
that opportunity. And then the next game we go and we finally get back to what a lot of people have been asking for years, is playing Tennessee State. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, Tennessee State is not the Tennessee State that Eddie George had, but it's still a Tennessee State with Coach Barlow. And Coach Barlow, everybody knows he was with Alabama State. He knows how to play in the SWAC. He knows this, and he knows about Alabama A&M. And so, we go up there to Nashville. It's the first of a 4-year home and home. So definitely looking forward to that, man. Playing Tennessee State and really challenging ourselves against a Big South OVC opponent. Our fans, they'll definitely travel up there. And also there's a lot of alumni that we have in Nashville. So that'll be great playing there at Nissan Stadium. And then we're going to play a game at home against Lane, which should be, a game that we can get healthy.
Hey,
Hopefully,
listen,
hopefully,
help the
hopefully we get
scheduling.
healthy. Hopefully we can get healthy, because the SWAC, they love to get those D2 games against SIAC. You look all through the schedules, they're littered with them. Jackson State, y'all know y'all playing Tuskegee. Y'all gonna get healthy against
And
them boys coming
I
to the
think they
vet.
played Lane last year too. So
Yep, they played Lane. They beat them up pretty good. So, so you got that. And then we get into SWAC play. And this year, our SWAC play, we open up at Bethune-Cookman. And, Bethune-Cookman, you never know what you get when you go down to Daytona, man. And especially, this is a year where if there's any one coach that has to win to keep his job, it's Raymond Woody. He is unequivocally on the hot seat down there. Last year, they played well in a lot of games, and they wet the bed in others. And they lost Dennis Palmer, which Dennis Palmer was their best player last year at
Mm.
running back. Dude, if anybody saw that game, the Florida Classic against Florida A&M, that dude could not be stopped in that second half. And he's not there anymore.
Mm.
So, we go down there, we play Bethune-Cookman. It'll be a good opportunity for us. We know playing them in September, we know it's going to be hot and humid as hell down there. And then we play Jackson State in Mobile, and this is a game that everybody, a lot of our fans, we're like, we're playing them in Mobile again, with this Gulf Coast Challenge, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this game be get back to home and home. I'd love
Mm.
for us to go down to the vet and love for them to come to Huntsville. But, we'll see what it is. Jackson State, they're favored to win the conference. And if I was doing any picking right now, I'd probably pick them to win the conference.
Mhm.
But this is going to be a game that's an opportunity for us, the second SWAC game, to
Yeah.
play against them and try and, get on the board. We'll see what it is then. So I see True Seeker said, why in Mobile? So yeah, Gulf Coast Challenge. This is a contract that we've had with this game. And this year would be our home game. If we were playing it in Huntsville and they're playing it down there. As a matter of fact, they had the kickoff press conference for it yesterday, which is weird. Why in the world would you have it on June the 4th? But that's neither
I
here
just
nor there. All
I
right.
just
So
saw
then,
that too.
yeah. And so then we get homecoming against Valley. Now, a lot of folks, shout out to Valley. I got to say it how I always say it. Valley always scares the hell out of me. I don't care what their record is. I don't care where we play them. Well, I remember a
Mhm.
few years ago, they were winless and they got us.
Right.
Last year, FAMU, they were winless going into FAMU and they got FAMU. So this game always scares us. And then we get a bye week, which we always get before the Classic, and then we play the Classic. And when you play the Classic, it doesn't matter what the record is at this point. The
Mhm.
expectation from the fans is that you better win this game. And as I said
Right.
before, this is a 3-game losing streak
Woo.
against Alabama State. That we really,
Yeah.
really want to snap. And Coach Shade and staff, they talked about how important the Magic City Classic is. So they've already said it before the season even got even close to beginning, how important it is. And
Mhm.
then we're gonna go down, we're gonna play Grambling. Now, here's the funny thing. We've lost 3 straight times to Alabama State, but we've beaten Grambling 3 straight times. 3 years in a row we've beaten Grambling, which is
I didn't even
crazy.
realize that.
Yeah, we've beaten them 3 straight times, man. They came the last year that the first year that Hugh Jackson coached, we beat him in overtime in Huntsville. And then in the return match, the next year, Xavier Langford ran all day, all night on them on their homecoming.
Mm.
And then last year we played them on a Thursday night in Huntsville, and we prevailed. So we've beaten them 3 years in a row. We know Mickey Joseph is pissed off. He threw a lot of coaches, throw a lot of players under the bus. And, he's definitely got a lot of pressure on him in year 2. So that'll
Yeah.
be interesting. And then we play a team that you know very well. It's been a while since we played this team that you know very, very well. It's been some years. So, we look forward to seeing you
Definitely
boys come to Huntsville.
been a long time. Yeah.
Too long since we played y'all. So we'll see y'all. We'll see y'all come to Huntsville, and then FAMU, which will be the last home game in mid-November. And you can get any kind of weather in Huntsville mid-November. It could be cold, it could be warm, it could be whatever. But again, that's another one of those games that'll be an opportunity to try to get to snap a losing streak against a SWAC opponent. And then we round out things with Texas Southern down there in Houston. And we know about how Chris Dishman has been building things, man. They were my surprise of the year last year,
Mhm.
going 5-6 the way they did, man. And definitely could have been a whole lot better than that if they'd have had a couple breaks go their way.
Yeah,
So,
listen, it was close, very close, man. So it's gonna be interesting. So you love how this schedule is laid out, though.
it's very opportunistic, and it gives us a lot of challenges, man. I mean, you've got some challenging road games in there. You know, with I don't care what you say, how many times we have beaten Grambling 3 years in a row. It's always hard to go down to the hole, you
Right.
know. And then also the game at Tennessee State. I know Tennessee State, they're a different team now, but still, we're going up there. We're playing them in their place, and it's early in the season, so we'll see how that goes. Bethune-Cookman, you never know, man. SWAC opener, you never know. It can go any way. And I just said that Woody is going to be playing and coaching with a lot of desperation. But yeah, this is a really good schedule, man. I mean, there's there's
Yeah.
there's good home games, and there's
Fam at home, Prairie View at home, and then
yep,
Jackson and Mobile.
yeah,
You only got to go to Alabama State. I do think going to Texas Southern is going to be one, right? Kind of depend on where they are at that point in time at the end of the year,
yep,
as far as where the fans going to be at or whatever. But having to go to Houston, right, for that game and play in the sweat box, as we call it, right, Shell Energy.
right,
That's gonna be tough. So yeah, but I mean, overall, though, I think you got some key games right at home, and I think that's
yeah,
what matters. When you look at
yeah,
this schedule, so it's gonna be real
yeah,
interesting, and I think it's gonna be interesting to see how Dishman can kind of get it rolling, starting early on. Alcorn, Tennessee State, Lane, right? Those are three good games to kind of have the identity set, get the mistakes worked out, right? Going into the Bethune-Cookman game and starting the real SWAC season off. And it's way better than before because the previous years, y'all been having Jackson and Fam like literally back to back, right? It's like horrible the
man,
way it's laid out. So this is
yeah.
definitely laid out a lot better than what we've seen before in previous years. So
Yeah, man. I like this schedule. I like this schedule a lot. Obviously, we're a long way from really even knowing what we're gonna be. I know when we get to SWAC Media Day, we'll see how things are voted upon with the coaches. People need to remember the coaches, they're the ones that put all these polls. They do
right,
the
it's,
order
it's
of finish.
SIDs and the coaches, right?
Yep, the SIDs and
Yeah,
the coaches do the order of finish, as well as the preseason all SWAC teams.
right.
Those are one different things. He said, best thing y'all got is Southern not on your schedule. Hey, look, man, you right about that, man, because I went to that game last year. We played Southern, man. It was a typical prototypical A&M game under Maynard. Opportunities missed all over the place.
Oh man, you hate it. You hate it, right? Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
hey,
so
listen, we gonna have. I'm gonna have to eat. I'm gonna have to shoot you the link for the new logo though, because we can't be having this old PV logo. That's the logo from like two logos ago, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like that ain't even the latest version of that logo. You know what I
you know
mean? So
what?
we got to see
I
the new
will I
logo.
will update all of the logos. I will update the whole thing so we got it right for y'all. All right. I'm gonna
Yeah,
make sure it's right.
I've been noticing. I'm like, man, everybody got the old logo for some reason. I'm like, man. So, but anyway, it is what it is. Even Valley, I know Valley got their new logo too going on. So yeah, man. But I think it's definitely gonna be an interesting year, like True Seeker says, man. 2025 is gonna be real interesting. I'm excited to hear Swag Me today. Excited to see like who's carrying what games. Obviously, we saw
Right.
HBCU gonna be carrying the Las Vegas Classic. I think that's gonna be dope because having that type of game on a platform that's going to treat our product like it needs to be treated is like going to be amazing, right? And I told people, even alum here, man, like I would love HB go to pick up a couple of our games because just the way they treat the games, man, is just so quality. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. Let's
yeah,
see. Let's
man, it's
see.
gonna be dope, man. But
Let's see. So I'll go. I got all the schedules up. So here we
oh
are.
wow,
Here it is. Here it is. Where it is,
let me
man.
pick
Week
it up.
9. That is where it is, man. Week 9 is one of the greatest days
Oh, we got
that you can
Spam
be.
Southern, got the Magic City, and then got the Las Vegas class. That's gonna be
It's
a
one
nice
of the
weekend.
greatest days in SWAC football this
Mhm.
year, upcoming week 9, man. I mean, you already know, like, the Magic City Classic, it goes without saying, but that Florida A&M Southern. Speaking of
That's gonna be a
Southern,
nice one too. Yeah.
Southern is tired of losing to FAMU. So yeah, this will be a great day, man. It'll be a really, really great day
Listen,
in the SWAC, man. I'm
the
really
only
looking
snakes,
forward to that.
only snake Adrian eating that day is one that he cooked on the grill outside the stadium. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That's it. That's all, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man, Wayne, we appreciate you for coming and jumping on the show, my guy. Let people know, man, how they can find you, how they can connect with you over on the ride.
Yeah, man. So the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright. I'm on I got my YouTube channel. Make sure I just had a show last night with Tashay Woods, man. We had a real good time. So many of the people that are watching this show, they also watch that show. But for those that have never watched any of my shows, make sure that you can, catch me Wild Wayne Cartwright on YouTube. That's my YouTube channel. You'll see the show, The Ride. We got a lot of stuff coming up the road, man. We're gonna have some content from SWAC Media Day. We're gonna have some content about season previews. Y'all know, Lionel, you know how exhaustive I can be.
Yeah,
So we're gonna be exhaustive about these team previews. We're gonna do some great predictions. And then also the shows that'll be coming back, man. Wild Picks with Wild Wayne on Wednesdays. Y'all know every week we'll do the picks. And then also Sunday recap, man. It'll still be going up this fall. Every Sunday night this fall after a game week, we'll have that at 8 p.m. Eastern with my weekly ride tokens that I hand out. So yeah, big stuff going on, man, on the ride. And
that's dope.
this year we'll get you to come on, man. One of those Sunday nighters and get
Oh
you
yeah, man. I
also get you come on the
gotta slide
previews
over.
also.
Yeah, we
Get you on
definitely
the
got to slide
previews.
over there. It was nice coming over there. Popping up over there. Doing one of the game weeks. So obviously, man, anytime you call on me, I got you. And so super excited. Make sure y'all connected with Wayne with the ride. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. For those who haven't subscribed to our channel as yet, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Show some love. Listen, we pushing toward 1,000. We almost there. We crossed the 800 marker. Now we just like speed toward 1,000 at this point, right? So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, show some love. Listen, if you want to support, you can do that, right? We now got the Cash App set up, so you can just shoot a Cash App, PB versus everybody to the Cash App. If you want to become a member, we got some special stuff, the special lives we're doing for members, right? Doing some deep dives on players. We got some player comparisons coming up, some verses. We're going to be doing some players, right? So we may be taking, for example, a guy, you know what I'm saying, like a Ryan Morrow, right? And comparing them, for example, maybe with a Ahmad Miller or something like that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a Lamar J. McDowell, right? And saying like, man, which one of these running backs would you guys really want on your team this year? We got some verses coming up soon. And we're going to continue with the deep dives. Next week, we got Southern coming on with my man C. Wells. We're going to be talking about Southern next Wednesday. So make sure you locked in with this, man. Make sure you show some support. And listen, before I go, y'all already know.
Atlanta, win. Atlanta is the land of the purple and gold. Oh, the land of the purple and gold. Better get there.
I heard it get cold in Atlanta. I heard it get cold in Atlanta. So this year we got the hoodies. All right, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
Shouts out to all those already who reached out, you know what I'm saying, about the hoodies. Also, listen, we not only got hoodies, we can't just do it for the adults. We got youth hoodies, all right? We got some baby tees, right? Because I got my 1-year-old. She needs to be able to rep the swag champ. So we got some baby clothes this year. We got youth clothes, we got youth sizes, all right? So we gonna have the whole stands putting it on 2025 swag champs. All right. So if you can't get a hoodie, get a t-shirt, rep it, you know what I'm saying? Go and wear it. Swag me today. Hey, listen, when we in Atlanta, we just gonna send all the shirts there. All right. We're just gonna send all the shirts. We're gonna have it lined up for the players, you know what I'm saying, before the game start, you know what I'm saying? So don't put it on. So when they win, they just gonna pull it up. Like, oh, y'all got t-shirts for us too? We can swag. We took care of this already. We already took care of this. All right. So make sure you go. All right. Make sure you go ahead to the website. Get yours ordered. Shouts out to my boy Jared. He said he already ordered his hoodie. You know what I'm saying? His shirt. You know what I'm saying? We getting it coming, right? So make sure you locked in before August. Listen, make sure you locked in. And I don't know why y'all keep disrespecting Africa like that. Like, listen, Africa got some stuff going. Y'all I know y'all ain't traveled nowhere. This is how I know y'all ain't traveled nowhere. Because I don't know. Listen, you need to go travel to Africa and see that you tripping. You might be talking about another places in the world, right? You know what I mean? Because a lot of places in Africa got it going. All right, you know what I'm saying? They'll put you to shame. Okay, so don't be talking about Africa like that. But listen, first and foremost, they can't talk about Haiti either, because Haiti done kicked the French out. That's why they in trouble. They kicked the French out their country. That's why they got issues right now. Because the IMF and them boys. See, y'all got me talking about history lessons right now. But listen, yeah, I got me talking about these history lessons right now. That's what happened when you kick the French out your country. So don't talk about Haiti either. Don't talk about my Haitians either, all right? You know what I'm saying? And that black rice, you feel me? But listen, go and get your hoodie. Go and get your T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? It's going down. Listen, y'all, if y'all want to hear some 6 and 6s, go to the ride, all right? Ain't no 6 and 6s over here, all right? we 11 and impossible on this show, okay?
Oh, wow. 11 and impossible?
We're 11 and we play spades over here, all right? We play spades over here. 11 and impossible. I ain't playing no games with y'all. I ain't playing no games.
The confidence of this man, y'all. Hey, listen, you know what though, man? I ain't mad at your confidence. I ain't mad at your confidence. You know, look, I had your head coach on my show. We talked. The dog mentality. I get it. I get all of it. His confidence, his swag, all of it. But guess what?
That's some money.
Guess what? Guess what? Guess what though? Y'all got to kick that ball off and put them uniforms on the same way everybody else do.
We do. We got to put our pants on just like every other man. But listen, like I say, hey, listen, it's the land of the purple and gold. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And I got him because I thought he looked a little bit like Wayne. I was like, let me get somebody who's like Wayne. You know what I'm saying? Land of the purple and gold. Where's that? That's Atlanta, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. All right, that's the land of the purple and gold. All right. So listen, listen. I'm just trying to let you know. All right. Listen, we got two sides of the coin. That's why he on that side, I'm on this side. All right. We on both sides of the church.
Listen, man, if it happens, I will be among the first to congratulate you and say this brother was right in his reboot. Last year, you failed miserably. This year, if it happens, I will be the first to congratulate you. I will listen. I will have you on my show, and you can say whatever you want to say.
Hey, listen. If we win, I'm booked. I'm booked. First of all, I'm going to be in Jamaica somewhere. I'm booked. I'm going to be on the island. All right, because I'm celebrating. All right, don't call me. I ain't got no internet. Don't hit me up. Okay, I'm celebrating. All right, I'm getting out of the cold. I had to wear the cold. I had to wear the hoodie in the cold in Atlanta. So I'm getting somewhere warm. I'm getting somewhere hot. Okay.
You just better make sure you found if y'all don't live up to the promise.
Who? Well, listen. I was found last year. People found me. Yeah. My address ain't hard to find. All right. And I came on this show every week. All right. You know what I'm saying? So listen, so you're right. So after we win this year, I'm coming on everybody's show every week. I'm gonna be on the HBC Coaches Corner. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there before they get there. I'm gonna be on the. They're gonna be trying to figure out how you get in our StreamYard. Like that's not even. I'm gonna be there before they get there.
I will be the first to congratulate you, man, if it happens. For real. And all real talk, though. All jokes aside, man. Yeah, Lee said, he said it goes super.
Hey, listen. See, you gotta know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You gotta know what you're doing. Hey, listen. Hey, he said it's a spot. Hey, TSU trying to get on it. You know what I mean? Hey, D-Lob said UAPB win the SWAC championship this year. That's what he said. Hey, you know, you got to shoot your shot. I already told y'all you can't hit no goals you ain't shooting for. Okay,
that's true. You
ain't trying to win the SWAC championship. Then first of all, why are you even playing in the first place? That's my opinion, right? You know what I'm saying? Why? Because the SWAC ain't that close that you ain't got a shot in the first place. That's the first thing, right? This ain't the Missouri Valley. Bro, it ain't like North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and everybody else. No, this is the SWAC, bro. Like you got a shot. Let's be clear, right? Because that Grambling game with Jackson State, where they had that game that they turned the ball over 3 times, that could have easily been a different game. That could have easily been a FAMU game, right?
Yeah.
And now we talking about FAMU winning the championship. So let's be clear now. Like, everybody is right there, right? Everybody can look back and say, man, a play here, a play there, maybe things could be different, right? You know what I'm saying? Or I don't say everybody, right? But you got about 6 teams that can look and say, man, if I can have that play back, right? We're not even talking about games back. We're talking about plays, right? You know what I'm saying?
Look, if Alabama State had more offense, okay, if FAMU doesn't turn the ball over, but that's how football is.
That's what
how
I'm saying.
Football is. It happens. All I gotta say is, y'all just need to come out and y'all need to live up to all the talk. That's it.
My bad, Wayne. My bad, because I keep showing you the back. I showed you the front. I need to show you the back. My bad. It's my bad. That's better for the screenshot.
Live up. Hey,
that's better for the screenshot right there.
Hopefully for you, your team lives up to your optimism. I know your coach believes it. But it's just about, hey, can they deliver?
Hey, Wayne, I'm doing my job. This is my job. My job is to tell y'all we're gonna win SWAC championship. It's not my job to catch the ball. It's not my job to block. It's not my job to call play. That's not my job. All right. I'm a podcast host. Okay. This is my job right here. Now, this ain't the recap. The recap show, you know what I'm saying, with Coach Heights Northern, you know, we'll be a little more sophisticated. You know what I'm saying? This ain't sophistication. This is the live show. Okay. This is straight. I'm just telling you what's about to happen. All right. You know, but anyway, with that said, man, Wayne, appreciate you coming on, my guy. Like I said,
man.
You like being with us. Let me know whenever you need me, and I'm there. And for everybody out there, listen, we appreciate you. Listen, if you ain't subscribed, hit the notification bell. Stop playing, man. Let's go and run it over to 1,000. And listen, I ain't the one that's gonna keep selling stuff, because if you ain't down, you ain't down. So if you down, you need to get your hoodie before we 5-0, before we 7-0. All right, because you gonna go in there and it ain't gonna be available. Because I'm like, nope, nope, you ain't gonna get in. Like, yeah, I remember that year when we went. I bought that T-shirt back in June. I'm like, no, you didn't. I got the receipts. It wasn't June. Okay. Holla at you. We'll talk to y'all later.
All right. See y'all.